What is up, boys? And we are back for the full fight card predictions and breakdown for UFC Fight Night London, Evloev versus Murphy this weekend. And I gotta say, I'm excited for this card, and we've been absolutely cooking inside premium so far. We are 6 weeks in a row of profit, which is absolutely insane consistency. And we've been cooking. Last card, we went 12-2 on predictions as well. And the only two predictions we got wrong were Iwan Kutalaba versus Omar Sy. I picked Omar Sy, but I said Iwan Kutalaba was the value side. And also I picked Brad Tavares over Eric Anders, but I said that was a 50-50 fight. So if you want to get in on the action, the premium link is in the comments down below or in my bio. And the link to my free group is in the comments down below as well, or in the bio where I post a couple of smaller free bets every single week. And also, my biggest free play of the week, which is the Beast Bet of the Week, which is currently 4-2 this year, has been posted for this card. I'm very confident this week, and I think we make it 5-2. So if you want to see that, check that out in the video before this. But now let's get into the predictions for the card. First fight of the night, Melissa Mullins versus Joanna Carolina. This is a 50-50 fight in my opinion, but give me Melissa Mullins to get this one done by decision. Pretty simple fight to break down. I think Joanna Carolina has a very significant advantage on the feet, and I think Mullins should have a significant advantage on the ground. Joanna Carolina is a much better striker. She uses her long-rangey weapons much better than Mullins does. Mullins is just, her striking so far in the UFC has been very poor. So I think as long as this fight stays standing, Joanna Carolina is going to piece up Melissa Mullins. But she's probably not going to finish her because Joanna Carolina doesn't really have that much pop in her hands. Now, we've seen Joanna Carolina has some weakness in her takedown defense. In her last fight, she got taken down repeatedly by Michelle Montague. Though she did a good job of surviving in that fight, her takedown defense has not been very good throughout her career. And I think if Mullins can get a couple of takedowns here, she could control Joanna Carolina for long periods of the fight and potentially get in good positions and land ground and pound. However, Melissa Mullins hasn't consistently gone to the wrestling throughout her UFC career, often spending too much time on the feet where she can get badly outstruck. For example, in her last fight, she was getting takedowns pretty consistently when she would shoot them, but she just didn't shoot them enough, and she lost that fight by decision. But I'm going to edge ever so slightly towards Melissa Mullins to get this one done, to get a couple of takedowns, to get enough control, and to get the decision in her hometown. So I'm going to say Melissa Mullins by decision. Now moving up the card, we got Chanel Dyer versus Ravina Oliveira. And give me Dyer to win this one by decision in this fight. I think Ravina Oliveira is a very, very basic fighter. All she really has is a 1-2, which she throws alright. But other than that, she doesn't really throw anything. In her last fight against Stephano Luciano, all she threw was that 1-2. And eventually, she just had nothing left. And Luciano was just able to march her down, land her shots, and even take her down and find a submission in round 3. I don't think Oliveira is very high level at all. Very basic fighter. And Chanel Dyer, I'm pretty high on. I think her Muay Thai striking is very good. Great kicking game. Really fast, flexible kicks that you don't really see at WMMA. Good knees and elbows. Offensively, her boxing's pretty good. I will say defensively, she can get hit a lot, especially with the boxing, which could be a bit of a concern, especially moving forward. But I don't think Oliveira should give her too much problems. I think Dyer should come in here, chew up her leg, land good teeps and push kicks to the body, good knees, and be able to outstrike Oliveira pretty comfortably and win by decision. And a KO could possibly be live here, so that is something to watch out for. But give me Chanel Dyer to win this one by decision. Now moving up the card, we got Shamrock versus Abdul Karim El Sawadi. Give me Abdul to win this one by decision, but this is another one of those fights where very 50-50 in my opinion, and I'm not confident at all in predicting that fight. I think Shamrock had a pretty poor performance on his UFC debut against Nurullo Aliyev. Nurullo Aliyev is a Dagestani wrestler kind of guy, and he was just outstriking Shamrock very badly in terms of the boxing. Rock was extremely hittable, got consistently walked back against the cage and ate clean shots, and he just did not look good in that fight. Shamrock is a grappler though, and he has got a lot of submission victories against lower levels of competition, but the grappling didn't translate in that fight. Though it was a tough debut, he just didn't look good in that fight. Now Abdul Karim El Sawadi is coming off a 2-year layoff going into this fight, which isn't very good. And Abdul, in my opinion, isn't the best fighter either. He's shown a pretty weak chin quite a few times throughout his career. He's been knocked out multiple times. but I don't think that's going to play that much of a factor against Shamrock, who doesn't really have the striking game at all, in my opinion. Shamrock will throw some kicks, but his power in the hands are not there. So I think Abdul's going to be the better striker, the better boxer on the feet here. And Abdul's a pretty solid wrestler himself. I don't think Shamrock is going to be able to just take him down, ragdoll him, and find a submission like he's done on the regional scene. So I think Abdul's takedown defense should hold up. He should be the better striker, and I just see him outscoring and winning minutes in this fight to win by decision, landing the better shots on the feet, defending enough takedowns. Maybe he even ends up on top and has some control in this fight. I think he's more experienced, and even though he's coming off that layoff and he does have a pretty weak chin, I think he should do enough to win this fight, though it's a very close fight and I'm not confident in picking that one. Next one on the card, we got Louis Sutherland versus Brando Pericic, and give me Brando to win this one by round 1 KO. Listen, I'm pretty high on Brando Pericic. I know we haven't seen too much of him, but watching his UFC debut and the other fights before that, the guy is clearly athletic, which is a very rare thing to say at heavyweight. He has good speed early, he'll charge you down, and he does have some power and some pop in his hands, and he's very aggressive early on. Louis Sutherland, he's not the worst fighter. He moves all right. He has a nice leg kick, but in my opinion, he's just a typical pretty fat heavyweight, to be honest. I don't think he has too much to offer in terms of this division, and I do think Brando Pericic does have some potential. I think Pericic is going to come out here, give Louis Sutherland no respect, try and finish him from the second this fight starts, and I think he's going to hurt him in round 1, and from when he hurts him, I think he's just going to swarm him and find a finish similar to his UFC debut. I know this is a bit of a step up in competition for Brando Pericic, but I trust in him and I have a bit of faith in this guy. I think this guy could be pretty solid as an upcoming heavyweight, and I think he gets this one done by round 1 KO in this fight. Next one, we got Mantis Contradivicius versus Antonio Tricoli. A very simple fight to call in my opinion. I think Mantis should get this one done by round 1 KO. Antonio Tricoli is not UFC level, and he's not even a good guy for the regional scene, to be honest. I have no idea why he's in the UFC. Actually, I do. It's simply because he's Mackenzie Dern's boyfriend, but he should not be in the UFC. We've seen him get finished multiple times easily on the floor and on the feet, but this time I think he's going to get knocked out on the feet. I think Mantis is a young guy. He's powerful. He's pretty big. We saw him get a nice KO on the Dana White Contender Series in round 1. We cashed on that, by the way. And yeah, I think he's going to do the same here. I think Tricoli is going to come in here like a lamb to the slaughter. Mantis is going to come forward, land a big shot, and finish him in round 1. Not much more really to say about that fight, but that's how it should go. Now, another one of these ones, Mario Pinto versus Felipe Franco. I'm going to pick Mario Pinto to get this one done by round 1 KO in this fight. Felipe Franco, his record before that Dana White Contender Series fight, he was finishing everyone in round 1. He went into that Dana White Contender Series fight as a decent favorite, and he did not look good in that fight against Freddie Vidal. He shot some takedowns, he got some, but he never really controlled Freddie on the ground. On the feet, he didn't look very good either, and he ended up kind of gassing out in that fight and getting submitted in the final moments. And since then, he's got a couple of round 1 KOs against probably very low-level competition like he was doing before, and now he's in the UFC somehow, so credit to him. He found his way to the UFC after losing on the Dana White Contender Series just a few months ago, but I think he's going to get smoked in this matchup. I think Mario Pinto, who is someone that I wasn't really too high on, but he's come around to me and I think he's pretty solid. I thought he was going to lose that fight to Deniz, but he ended up absolutely dominating him in the grappling, which was pretty impressive. He's a very big dude. He seems to have some athleticism, and I think he's going to absolutely smoke Felipe Franco here. He's going to have a significant size advantage. He has a lot of power in his hands, so he can knock him out on the feet, or he can take him down, land good ground and pound like he did in his last fight, and find a finish there. Either way, I think Pinto finds a KO, and I think it's going to be sooner rather than later, so I'm going to pick him by round 1 KO in that fight. He's a massive favorite. He probably should be. And yeah, it's a big step down in competition, to be honest, from Deniz, but he was originally set to fight Mick Parkin, and that fight got cancelled, so what can you do here? Pinto should absolutely smoke Franco and get a victory in his hometown. Next up, we got Nathaniel Wood versus Lucien Chieta. This is a good fight, and this is one where I have some pretty strong opinions on. And I'm going to pick Nathaniel Wood to get this one done by decision as an underdog in this fight. Now, let me know if I'm wrong here, but I'm not high on Lucien Chieta. I've watched the tape on him. and I don't see what is so impressive about this guy. Obviously, he is very athletic, he bounces around well, he does have some speed, and he does have some power, but the guys he's fighting are not high level at all. And it's not like he's going out there and smoking all of them. There's fights where he's going to decisions, and it's pretty competitive. I think on the feet he has speed and power, but he doesn't really mix up the weapons too well. I think he can have moments where he's very low volume in fights, where he's really not doing much, and he's shown to be competitive against guys on the Octagon MMA scene, which to me is just not a good look at all. And he's not consistently finishing these guys either, like I said. So he's a striker coming into this matchup against Nathaniel Wood, and I like what Nathaniel Wood's been doing, and he's been winning as an underdog pretty consistently. He's on, I think, a 4-fight win streak. Last fight against Jose Delgado, obviously you could argue he lost that fight, but he still looked good in that fight. He got dropped early, he recovered well, got the jab going, landed nice leg kicks. His striking looked slick, and he even mixed in a couple takedowns in that fight. In the fight before that, he was an underdog in that one as well, against Morgan Sharia. He looked very on point in that fight, dropped Morgan early, then he just set the tone from the rest of the fight. He was piecing him up with a jab, landing the leg kicks, and looking very good in that fight. Now, one thing I will say about Nathaniel Wood is he is constantly going to decisions. I think that is just partly because he's pretty solid defensively. He can get hurt, but he recovers well, and his defense is pretty good. He always has that high guard. He doesn't really get hit too much or too clean. And offensively, he can drop guys, but he just doesn't seem to be the biggest finisher. And he's more of a decision-style fighter, which is why I think he's going to win by decision in this fight. I think he's going to land on Kieta. I don't think Kieta's defense is the best. I don't think Kieta has this deep skill set like Nathaniel Wood does, in my opinion. I think Wood's going to be able to outstrike him on the feet. Kieta does probably have the power advantage, though. I'll give him that. So in terms of a knockout, I would probably lean towards Kieta, but I think Wood's going to be crafty here. I think he's going to land the shots, move around well, avoid getting hit by big power shots by Kieta, and show his UFC level experience in this fight. And maybe he could mix in some takedowns as well to score points and win minutes in this fight. I don't understand why he's a 3-1 underdog here. I could be completely wrong. I just don't think I have the right read on Kieta. Or I do have the right read on him, and he's just not very good. Like, look at the levels of competition he's been fighting compared to someone like Nathaniel Wood here. It's his UFC debut, and he's a massive favorite over Nathaniel Wood. I think the odds makers got this one wrong, and I'm going to back Wood to get this one done in his hometown by decision in that fight. But that's a great fight, and I'm super keen for that one. Next one, we're moving up the card. We got Mason Jones versus Axel Solo. This is a good fight, and give me Mason Jones to win this one by decision. Now, both of these guys I think are pretty solid. Axel Solo showed some good skill in his last fight against Reese McKee. He has nice striking on the back foot. He's probably going to be the slicker striker in this fight. He moves around well, and he has a nice left hand. He blitzes in nicely, and we saw those body shots on display in his last fight, which was pretty impressive. But I think as you pressure this guy forward, he doesn't like to get pressured. He can get overwhelmed, and he can get hit. And I was watching back the tape on him. I saw a couple of fights where he got dropped pretty badly in round one, showing maybe a bit of a weak chin there, and that he is pretty hittable in his fights. Though I think he's a good striker overall, and he is pretty slick, and he does have some good speed. He's taking on Mason Jones here, who's an absolute dog, and I absolutely love him. I think he's a very entertaining fighter. Jones will march forward with his jab, with his kicks, with his combinations. He will get hit, but he has a great chin, and when he gets hurt, he recovers really well. We saw that in that Bellagio Oki fight, and the man does not get tired, so he will march you down. And against Solo here, I think Solo will get overwhelmed as the fight goes on. Solo will probably do very well early, landing shots on Jones, but I think as the fight goes on, Jones is going to land more volume. He's going to start to overwhelm Axel Solo and really start to land some damage as this fight goes on. And also, I think Mason Jones has the wrestling in his back pocket. I think he has very strong takedowns, and he can lift guys up, slam them down. I don't think he's the best control grappler or submission threat by any means. And Axel Solo does have decent wrestling, so I don't think he's just going to go out here and maul him with the grappling. But I definitely think he can get some takedowns and to mix it up in this fight, which is a big factor as well. I like Jones here. I think he's shown a lot of resilience throughout his UFC career after getting cut, winning fights on the Cage Warriors scene, and he's still pretty young. He's still only around 30, and he's coming back and he's looking better than ever. I think he gets this one done by a decision in a good competitive fight, but Jones's output, his pace, his pressure is too much and he gets the victory here. Next one up, we got Curtis Campbell versus Danny Silva. Give me Curtis Campbell to win this one by decision, but I got a lot of questions about this fight because the thing is, we haven't really seen Curtis Campbell fight anyone really that high level. Most of his fights, he's just going out there, taking his opponents down and finishing them with very nice ground and pound. That's what he done in his Dana White Contender Series fight and pretty much all of his fights up to this point, which leaves a lot of question marks. What's going to happen when he has to strike on the feet, when he faces someone with decent grappling defense, and when he's fighting someone that's actually a legitimate, decently leveled opponent. And that's what we're going to find out here against Danny Silva. I think Danny Silva's pretty solid. I don't think he's the best fighter, but he's very durable. He pushes a good pace, and he will give you a good fight. We saw that against Kevin Vallejos. He was outgunned in that matchup, but he fought for that 15 minutes, pushing the pace, landing shots on Vallejos, eating a lot of shots, but he showed good durability. He was in there marching forward, and he looked honestly pretty solid in that fight. He did get taken down by Kevin Vallejos a couple times, but he got right back up as well. And in all of his fights, he's not a finisher. He doesn't have that much finishing potential in my opinion, but he will push a hard 15 minutes, get in your face, throw his boxing combinations, and I think he has decent takedown defense from what we've seen, but it is pretty untested as well, which is another big question I have going into this fight. So ultimately, I'm picking Curtis Campbell because there's no reason not to, because we haven't really seen him tested at all, and he is a prospect coming into this one in his hometown. I think the UFC definitely want him to win this matchup, but if he can't get those takedowns going early, I think Danny Silva probably has a striking advantage. He has pretty good hands. We also haven't really seen Campbell tested, so it'll be interesting to see what will happen if he faces some adversity. If Danny Silva can stuff some takedowns, get in his face, how he will respond to that. That'll be pretty interesting. I don't think Campbell's going to finish Silva. Silva's never been finished in his career. He has a very good chin. Curtis Campbell's best bet is probably to get on top and land some good ground and pound. But I think Silva, even though we haven't seen him grapple too much, I think he's a decent enough grappler to stop that from happening. And Campbell's not the biggest submission artist either, so I don't think Silva's going to get submitted. So I think Campbell is going to be the pick here. I'm going to pick him to win by decision, but there could be a lot of value on Danny Silva to win this one as well. Next fight on the card, we got Roman Dolidze versus Christian Leroy Duncan, and I'm going to pick Christian Leroy Duncan, and I'm going to pick him by decision in this fight. I think Roman Dolidze looked absolutely horrible against Anthony Hernandez in his last fight. I know it's Anthony Hernandez and he is very good, but Dolidze looked absolutely horrible in that fight. He gassed out after about 2 minutes, and Hernandez was able to not just beat him up on the ground, but beat him up on the feet, and that was a horrible look. And I think Dolidze's getting up there in age, and I think we're going to start to see him decline. And CLD, he's not someone I've been historically too high on, but he's really impressed me in his last couple of fights. Finished Eric Anders in round 1. Looked very good in that Marcio Tulio fight, won that one as an underdog, and I personally betted on Tulio. I thought Tulio would have what it took I thought Tulio would have what it takes to be able to beat on Christian Leroy Duncan, to be able to hurt him, but he wasn't able to do that, and CLD just schooled him for the entirety of that fight. Coming into this fight, if CLD can stuff some takedowns from Dolidze, which Dolidze isn't some amazing wrestler, he's a dangerous grappler on the floor, but his wrestling is pretty poor. He doesn't really take anyone down that much. It should be a very easy night for CLD. A much faster guy, the younger fighter, way more explosive. I think he's going to hit Dolidze very easily, be able to skirt around the outside, blitz him in, damage him up. I think he could potentially rock Dolidze in this fight and potentially even finish him. But Dolidze is pretty tough, and CLD can be a bit of a decision-style fighter in his fights, even though he's got a couple of finishes in his last fights. I'm going to lean towards Christian Leroy Duncan by decision, but I would not be surprised at all if he can hurt Dolidze and then find a finish. Either way, I think this should be a pretty comfortable win for Christian Leroy Duncan in this fight. Next one on the card is Iwo Baranetsky versus Austin Lane, and this is a pretty easy one to break down. Austin Lane's chin seems to be absolutely cooked. He's been knocked out multiple times in round 1 in his UFC career, and I'm going to pick Iwo to win this one by round 1 KO. Like I said, Austin Lane's been knocked out multiple times in his career at heavyweight. He just got brutally chinned in his fight before his last fight against Mario Pinto. Got knocked out a couple times by Junior Tafa, and I think Justin Tafa as well. and he's just not a high-level fighter at all. He's a pretty bad fighter. No idea why he's in the UFC. But yeah, and now he's moving down to light heavyweight. That's just going to make his chin a lot worse. He's not a small heavyweight, so coming into light heavyweight, I imagine he's going to be pretty drained, and his chin is going to be even weaker. And Iwo Baranetsky hits hard. We saw in the Dana White Contender Series fight, he finished Muhammad Ali inside the first minute of that fight, showed good power there. Then he was able to knock out Ibo Aslan in an absolute crazy fight for as long as that lasted. He did show some defensive weaknesses in there, but he also showed he hits extremely hard, and he knocked out Ibo Aslan. And Iwo hits hard. Most of his wins come by round 1 KO, and I think that's what's going to happen here. I think that's the logical outcome and the right pick, Iwo Baranetsky by round 1 KO in that fight. Next one on the card, we got MVP versus Sam Patterson. Give me MVP to win this one by decision. Now, I think MVP fights are pretty easy to break down in my opinion. If you're striking with MVP, you're going to lose. It's as simple as that. We've seen him outstrike high-level strikers before, like Ian Gary. Ian Gary, a very good striker, pretty hard to hit, made him look very hittable on the feet, and easily outstruck him as long as that fight was standing. Sharon Magomedov, another good striker. He made him look pretty light work on the feet. His movement is just too much, and no one can seem to figure out that point karate style, fighting style. And to be honest, Sam Patterson's probably the worst striker he's fought in the UFC up to now. I don't think Sam Patterson's a bad striker, but you can just see by the way he moves. He's there to be hit. His chin can be there. His chin can be up high at times, and we've seen him finish before. He's had a couple of impressive KOs, which is pretty nice. There is always that chance he lands on MVP and shuts his lights out. But if this fight is standing, I think MVP is going to absolutely school him and either win by decision, or he could finally get his first UFC finish on Sam Patterson. Now, the question marks here, in my opinion, is if Sam Patterson can get this fight to the ground. Now, I think Sam Patterson could have some success grappling, but we haven't really seen him too consistently go to his wrestling in his fights, or we haven't really seen too much high-level takedowns from him. We've seen good submissions from him. He has a lot of submissions on his record. So if he could get the fight to the ground, he could potentially find a submission on MVP, but I'm just not sure if he does. And if he takes MVP down, he will likely hold MVP down for the remainder of that round if he doesn't find a finish. We've seen it with MVP. When he goes down, he likely stays there. He just stays safe and loses the round. We saw it against Ian Gary. We saw it against Jared Cannonier, and that is a big weakness. So if Sam Patterson can get takedowns in this fight, which is a big if because MVP's takedown defense is not that bad, especially when he has the cage behind him. But if Sam Patterson can get takedowns in this fight, specifically in the open of the octagon, all it could take is 2 takedowns for Sam Patterson to control him and win this fight. That is definitely a possibility in this fight, and I wouldn't be surprised if that happens at all. Or Sam Patterson can take him down and even find a submission. So I think Sam Patterson is absolutely live here if he can get the grappling going, but that is a big if, and we haven't seen him consistently go towards that. So for those reasons, I'm picking MVP here. I think MVP can keep this fight on the feet for long enough, outstrike Sam Patterson, have big moments like he does in his fights, maybe even get a couple of knockdowns and have some big moments and win this fight by decision. I'm excited for it though. It should be a good one, but I don't know why they're making that fight as well. MVP should be having a way bigger name he's up against, but it's still a good fight and I'm looking forward to it. Now, we got Lucas Riley versus Michael Aswell. This is a good fight. Give me Luke Riley to win this one by knockout. I think Michael Aswell is a solid fighter. He's shown his game. He's tough. He has good boxing, and he pushes his boxing at a very high pace. He'll throw at a very high volume, and he keeps that going for the full fight. He doesn't get tired, which is pretty impressive. Though, he is pretty hittable. In all of his fights, he gets hit quite a lot. And I think against Luke Riley here, I have quite a lot of belief in Luke Riley. I think Luke Riley hits very hard. And though Michael Aswell might have the output advantage, he might have a bit of a boxing advantage in terms of combinations. And if this fight goes long, I think Luke Riley's going to have too much firepower on the feet in this fight. We've seen it with Luke Riley. In his last fight, he got a clean left hook knockout, dropping him in the first real exchange of that fight. We've seen him get super good KOs before. And I think Michael Aswell is there to be hit. His opponents hit him a lot. We've seen it throughout his past few fights. And I think Luke Riley's going to hit him clean, and he's going to hit him clean too much, and some shot is going to finish him. That's my prediction for this fight. And if this fight goes long, we've seen Michael Aswell consistently lose these very close fights. For example, that fight against Bilal Gioki. That fight could have been 1-1 going into the third, but he kind of let it slip away from him. And that fight against Bogdan Grad, that was a very close fight. I even thought he won it, but I think it was closer than it should have been, and he probably should have been able to slip away even further and be able to win that fight pretty unanimously on the judges' scorecards. Also, another fight against Yadil Delvali, another very close fight, and another very close fight he ends up losing. And the reason I think for this is because Michael Aswell just doesn't have that much power. I know he's coming off a round 1 TKO in that fight against Almeida, but throughout his career, he's shown to just be the volume guy. He doesn't really have these big damaging moments like someone like Luke Riley. So if this fight goes long, I think Aswell will land good volume, but I don't think he's going to have the power to hurt Riley. And I think Riley's going to be the one landing the bigger shots, having the bigger moments, and he is at home, so the crowd is going to get behind him, which will play a factor here as well. So I think Luke Riley's going to find a shot, likely in round 2, I'm going to say, and find a finish. But even if this fight goes long, I think Luke Riley's going to have the bigger moments and be able to win this one by decision. I'm not counting out Aswell. He's a good fighter. He could be live here as an underdog, but I like Luke Riley in this fight, and I like him to get this one done by knockout. Now, moving on to the main event, Movsar Evloev versus Lerone Murphy. And give me Movsar Evloev to win this one by decision. I think that's the pick you got to go with here. I know you can try and go with the unpopular take, go with the underdog with Lerone Murphy. But if you're thinking logically, Movsar Evloev has to be the pick, and it has to be by decision. Movsar's won every single one of his fights by decision in the UFC, and his style is just so good to win those close decisions. Because Movsar on the feet, he stays very patient and he's hard to hit. Movsar's not easy to hit clean. Arnold Allen didn't have a good time hitting him clean. Lopez landed some shots, but overall he wasn't landing too consistently. So he's pretty solid on the feet. I give Lerone Murphy a slight striking advantage, especially in terms of the kicking game and knees and elbows. He should have a big advantage there. But in terms of just the pure boxing, I think it's pretty close, and I could actually see Evloev winning a lot of boxing exchanges in this fight. I think he's pretty underrated on the feet. Go back and watch that Dan Ige fight. Go watch that Lopez fight again. Go watch that Arnold Allen fight again. He had a lot of moments against all these guys in terms of the striking with his hands, because I think he's a pretty underrated boxer. And now you bring in the threat of the takedown. That's going to further worsen Lerone Murphy's striking game. I don't think Lerone's going to be able to utilize his kicks as much, because Movsar will be looking to get takedowns off of the kicks, which he could catch and get him down. And I think Movsar is going to end up taking down Lerone Murphy. Lerone Murphy's grappling is definitely improving. He is a solid grappler, but we've seen throughout his career he can get taken down. Now, I don't think Movsar is going to go out there and control him. I don't think he's that kind of grappler. I don't think he's a Chimaev or an Islam Makhachev where he can control guys for full rounds and put them in bad positions and find submissions. That's not the kind of grappler he is. But I think he's going to take down Lerone Murphy a lot. I think Murphy will do a good job getting back up to his feet like he usually does. He does a very good job of doing that. But I think as the fight goes on, Evloev is going to continue to shoot the takedowns, continue to drag him down, and then he's going to have some moments on control. He's going to be able to land some ground and pound. And even on the feet, I think he's going to find success there as well, especially once he's established that grappling dominance. So I think early on, Lerone Murphy could have some success here. He might be able to find some counter shots, some good knees, some good elbows, some good strikes on the feet, and he could potentially win round 1. But that's probably about it, to be honest, for what I see for Lerone Murphy. I think as the fight goes on, Evloev, he's going to struggle to hold Murphy down, but he's going to get the takedowns. He's going to have some success on the feet. He's going to have some periods of control where he can land good ground and pound shots and just wear on Murphy and continue that, rinse and repeat. As the fight goes on, I see Evloev winning this one by decision, 50-45 or 49-46. And that's going to be my pick in this fight. I'm not completely counting out Murphy. He's a very skilled fighter, a very good fighter on the feet. He could potentially find a clean counter as Evloev is coming in with some nice elbows. He has a very nice elbow game, I'll give him that. He's cut up a lot of his past few opponents, and he has very good knees. We saw that in that Americani fight, timed a clean knee as he went for a takedown. So Murphy does have good vision on guys coming in, which could be very useful here, and that could get him to find a finish. But Evloev's going to be so hard to finish. And in a decision, I think Murphy has his work cut out for him here. He's going to really have to fight the best fight of his life, in my opinion, to win by decision. He's going to have to be able to stuff takedowns consistently, get back to his feet when he gets taken down, and land good shots on the feet and have enough moments to win a decision. And I just don't think that's going to happen here. So I'm not completely counting out Murphy. I understand if you're picking him, but I truly think Movsar Evloev is going to look good in this fight. He's going to win this fight pretty clearly and pretty dominantly, in my opinion, 50-45 or 49-46. Now, remember, if you want all of my bets, click that premium link in the bio or in the description down below, and I'll see you inside. And let's make some money betting on this card. Let's go.